My child, listen closely, because what you are feeling right now is not confusion. It is protection. But not the kind you think. There is something happening inside you that you cannot fully explain, something that feels like both a pull and a resistance at the same time, like your heart is trying to run towards someone while your mind is quietly building walls you didn't even realize were there, and you've been asking yourself why this connection feels different, why it feels deeper, heavier, almost spiritual, yet at the same time you feel fear, hesitation, doubt, and an urge to step back just when things start getting closer. And the truth is, your mind is not your enemy in this moment. It is trying to protect you, but it is protecting you from what it does not understand, because your mind is built from past experiences, past pain, past disappointments, and everything you've ever been through has taught your mind one simple rule: avoid what might hurt you again, even if that means pushing away something that is actually meant for you. You have to understand that your soulmate connection is not like anything you have experienced before. It does not follow the same patterns, it does not feel safe in the beginning, it does not feel predictable, and it certainly does not feel easy, because this kind of connection is designed to awaken you, to challenge you, to expose the parts of yourself that you have hidden, ignored, or suppressed for years. And your mind sees all of this as danger, because your mind prefers comfort over growth, familiarity over transformation, and control over surrender. So when your soulmate enters your life, your mind immediately starts analyzing, questioning, doubting, and even creating distance, not because this person is wrong for you, but because this connection is too real, too intense, and too powerful to fit into the boxes your mind has created. You might have noticed how you overthink every interaction, how you question their intentions even when they have done nothing wrong, how you feel a sudden urge to pull away just when things start to feel emotionally close, and how you sometimes convince yourself that it's better to walk away before you get hurt. And all of this is not random, it is your mind trying to protect you from vulnerability. Because vulnerability is something your mind has learned to associate with pain, rejection, and loss. But what your mind does not realize is that this time is different. This time you are not dealing with a lesson disguised as love, you are dealing with a connection that is meant to evolve you. And that kind of connection will always feel uncomfortable at first. There is a reason why you feel drawn to this person even when you try to ignore it, a reason why their presence affects you in ways you cannot logically explain, a reason why even in silence, even in distance, you still feel connected to them, and that reason goes beyond logic, beyond timing, beyond circumstances. It is something deeper, something spiritual, something that your soul recognizes even if your mind resists it. And this is where the inner conflict begins, because your soul moves through intuition, through feeling, through knowing without needing proof, while your mind moves through logic, through fear, through patterns based on the past. And when these two are not aligned, you feel torn, confused, and uncertain about what to do next. You might think that this hesitation means something is wrong, that maybe this person is not right for you, or that the timing is off, or that you should just walk away and choose something easier, something simpler, something that doesn't make you feel this exposed. But the truth is, the very reason it feels this intense is because it is breaking down the barriers you have built around your heart. It is forcing you to confront the fears you have been avoiding, and it is pushing you to grow in ways you didn't even know you needed. And growth never feels comfortable, it never feels easy, and it certainly never feels safe in the beginning. Your mind will try to convince you to run, to create distance, to find flaws, to focus on reasons why it won't work, and sometimes it will even bring up memories from your past to justify these fears, reminding you of times you were hurt, times you were disappointed, times when love did not turn out the way you expected, and it will use all of this to build a case against this connection. But what you need to understand is that your past is not your future, and just because something did not work before does not mean it is destined to fail again, especially when you have grown, evolved, and become more aware of yourself. There is also a deeper layer to this that you may not have considered, and that is the fear of being truly seen, because a soulmate does not just love you on the surface, they see you at your core, they recognize your strengths, your weaknesses, your light, and your shadows, and that level of visibility can feel overwhelming, especially if you are used to hiding parts of yourself to be accepted or loved, because now there is nowhere to hide. Now you are being called to show up as your authentic self, and that requires courage, honesty, and a willingness to let go of the masks you have been wearing for so long. And this is where many people pull away, not because the connection is wrong, but because it is too real, too deep, and too transformative, and your mind will label this as danger, but in reality, it is an invitation to step into a higher version of yourself, to heal the wounds that have been holding you back, and to experience a kind of love that is not based on fear, but on truth, growth, and alignment. You have to ask yourself, are you running because something is wrong, or are you running because something is right but it scares you? Because those are two very different things, and if you are honest with yourself, you will begin to see that this connection is not triggering your fear because it is harmful, it is triggering your fear because it is meaningful, because it matters, because it has the potential to change your life in ways you cannot yet fully understand. Your mind is trying to protect you from pain, but in doing so, it might also be trying to protect you from love, from growth, from transformation, and from the very connection your soul has been searching for, and this is the moment where you have a choice to listen only to your fear, or a choice to gently question it, to sit with it, to understand it, and to move forward with awareness instead of avoidance. This does not mean you should ignore red flags or force something that is not aligned, but it does mean you should not let fear be the only voice guiding your decisions, because fear will always tell you to stay where it is safe, even if that place is no longer serving you, even if that place is keeping you stuck in old patterns and limiting beliefs. Sometimes the greatest love stories do not begin with certainty, they begin with confusion, hesitation, and a deep internal battle between the heart and the mind, and the ones who experience the depth of this connection are the ones who choose to stay, to face their fears, to grow through the discomfort, and to trust that not everything that feels unfamiliar is dangerous. So if you feel like your mind is pulling you away while your heart is pulling you closer, do not ignore that tension, do not run from it, instead, try to understand it, because within that tension lies the truth of your situation, and the truth is not always comfortable, but it is always worth exploring. You are not broken for feeling this way, you are not confused without reason, and you are certainly not alone in this experience, because this is what happens when something real enters your life. It shakes you, it challenges you, and it forces you to decide whether you will stay in your comfort zone or step into something greater. And maybe, just maybe, your mind is not trying to ruin this connection. Maybe it is simply trying to protect an older version of you that no longer needs that level of protection, and maybe it is time to show your mind that you are stronger now, wiser now, and capable of experiencing love without losing yourself. So take a deep breath, slow down, and allow yourself to feel without immediately reacting, because not every fear needs to be followed, and not every doubt needs to be believed, and sometimes, the very thing your mind is trying to protect you from is the very thing your soul has been waiting for. My child. You thought the conflict inside you was a sign to walk away. But what if it is actually a sign that something sacred is beginning? Because what you are feeling right now is not just fear, it is exposure, it is the quiet unraveling of every emotional defense you built over the years, every wall you carefully placed brick by brick after each disappointment, each betrayal, each moment when you gave your heart and did not receive the same in return, and now suddenly there is a presence in your life that does not fit into your old story. Someone who doesn't trigger the same toxic patterns yet somehow makes you feel even more vulnerable, and that is confusing to your mind because it has learned to associate intensity with chaos and distance with safety, so when something feels deep but not destructive, your mind does not know how to process it, so it tries to regain control by pulling you back. And this is where many people misunderstand what is happening. They assume that if something is right, it should feel easy from the beginning, that there should be no fear, no hesitation, no overthinking, but that belief is rooted in illusion, because real connections do not just bring comfort, they bring truth, and truth has a way of shaking everything that is not aligned within you. It forces you to see yourself clearly, not just the version of you that you show to the world, but the hidden parts, the insecurities, the wounds, the patterns that have been quietly influencing your choices, and when all of this comes to the surface at once, your mind reacts the only way it knows how, by trying to escape. You might notice how you suddenly start focusing on small flaws, how you begin to question things that never bothered you before, how you create scenarios in your head about how it might go wrong even when there is no evidence of that happening, and this is not because your intuition is warning you, this is because your fear is searching for certainty. Your mind is trying to predict the future so it can protect you from potential pain. But in doing so, it is also blocking the possibility of something beautiful unfolding naturally. There is also a deeper fear that your mind rarely admits, and that is the fear of losing control, because when you meet someone who touches your soul, you cannot control how you feel, you cannot calculate every outcome, you cannot protect yourself in the same calculated ways you used to, and that lack of control feels dangerous to your mind, because control has always been your safety mechanism. It has always been the thing that helped you avoid getting hurt too deeply, so now that control is slipping, your mind is sounding alarms, telling you to slow down, to step back, to regain distance before you lose yourself completely. But here is the truth that your mind is not ready to accept. You are not meant to control this connection, you are meant to experience it, to grow through it, to allow it to reveal parts of you that have been waiting to be seen, and that does not mean you lose yourself, it means you find a deeper, more authentic version of yourself, one that is not driven by fear but by awareness. You have to understand that your soulmate is not here to complete you, they are here to reflect you, to mirror the parts of you that need healing, the parts of you that need love, the parts of you that need growth, and sometimes that reflection is uncomfortable, because it shows you things you have been avoiding, and your mind interprets that discomfort as a problem, when in reality it is a process. Think about all the times you have chosen what felt safe over what felt right, all the times you walked away not because something was wrong, but because it required you to be vulnerable in ways you were not ready for, all the times you settled for less because it did not challenge you to grow, and now here you are, faced with something that feels different, something that asks more of you, something that does not allow you to hide behind your old patterns. And your mind is reacting the same way it always has, by trying to protect you from stepping into the unknown. But the unknown is where transformation happens. It is where you break free from the cycles that have kept you stuck. It is where you learn to trust yourself, not just your fear, not just your past experiences, but your present awareness, your ability to see things clearly without projecting old wounds onto new situations. And this is the moment where you have to become honest with yourself, brutally honest, because you can no longer pretend that your fear is always intuition, you can no longer justify every doubt as a sign to walk away. Sometimes your fear is simply your past trying to rewrite your future, and if you keep listening to it without question, you will keep repeating the same patterns, the same endings, the same loneliness disguised as independence. There is a difference between a warning and a wound. A warning comes with clarity, it feels grounded, it does not create chaos in your mind, it simply tells you something is not right. But a wound feels loud, overwhelming, it creates anxiety, overthinking, and a constant need to figure everything out immediately. And what you are feeling right now is not clarity, it is conflict, and conflict is a sign that there is something within you that needs attention, not avoidance. Your soulmate connection is not here to break you, it is here to awaken you, and awakening is not a gentle process, it is messy, it is uncomfortable, it is full of moments where you question everything, including yourself, but through that process, you begin to understand yourself on a deeper level, you begin to see your patterns, your triggers, your fears, and instead of running from them, you start to work through them. And yes, there will be moments where you feel like pulling away, where you feel like it would be easier to just walk away and go back to what is familiar, what is predictable, what does not challenge you in the same way. But ask yourself this: has what is familiar ever truly fulfilled you? Has staying in your comfort zone ever brought you the kind of connection you truly desire, or has it only kept you safe but unfulfilled? Because safety without fulfillment is not peace, it is stagnation, it is staying in a place where nothing grows, where nothing changes, where you do not evolve into the person you are meant to become, and deep down, you know that you are meant for more than that. You know that you are capable of experiencing something deeper, something more meaningful, something that goes beyond surface-level connections. So the next time your mind tells you to run, to create distance, to protect yourself at all costs, pause for a moment and ask yourself, is this fear coming from my present reality, or is it coming from my past? Is this a genuine concern, or is it a pattern repeating itself? And in that pause, you will begin to find clarity. You do not have to rush this, you do not have to force anything, you simply have to stay present, to observe your thoughts without immediately acting on them, to allow your feelings to exist without letting them control your actions, and in doing so, you create space for something new to unfold. Something that is not dictated by fear, but guided by awareness. And remember this: your mind is not your enemy, it is just trying to protect you in the only way it knows how, but you are no longer the person you were when those fears were created. You have grown, you have learned, and you are capable of handling things in a different way now. So do not let an old version of yourself decide the future you are stepping into, Do not let fear close a door that was meant to open your life in ways you cannot yet fully imagine, because sometimes, the greatest connections come disguised as the greatest fears, and the only way to understand them is to stay, to face them, and to grow through them instead of running away to them, my child. The reason this feels so overwhelming is because this connection is touching parts of you that you once promised would never be touched again. There was a time in your life when you loved without hesitation, when you trusted without overthinking, when you gave your heart without constantly calculating the risks, but something changed, something happened that made you more guarded, more careful, more aware of how deeply things can hurt when they fall apart, and from that moment on, your mind made a silent decision to never let you feel that exposed again, to never let you fall that deeply without building layers of protection first. And over time those protections became your normal, they became your way of navigating love, connection, and relationships. And now, here you are, standing in front of something that does not respect those old rules, something that gently but persistently breaks through the barriers you thought were permanent, something that makes you feel seen in ways that are both beautiful and terrifying at the same time, and your mind does not like this, because it cannot control it, it cannot categorize it, it cannot predict where it will lead. And when your mind cannot predict something, it assumes the worst, it prepares for loss even before anything has been lost. You might catch yourself thinking thoughts that don't even fully make sense, imagining scenarios that haven't happened, preparing for endings that haven't even begun, and this is how your mind tries to stay one step ahead of pain. It tries to hurt you first so that nothing else can hurt you later. It tries to convince you that leaving early is better than staying and risking disappointment. And this is one of the most subtle forms of self-protection, because it feels logical, it feels responsible. It feels like you are taking control of your emotional safety. But what your mind is not telling you is that this kind of protection also comes with a cost, the cost of never fully experiencing the depth of what is being offered to you, the cost of always holding back just enough to avoid pain but also avoid real connection, the cost of living in a constant state of almost trusting, almost opening up, almost allowing yourself to be loved the way you truly deserve. And this is where your soul begins to speak louder, not in words, but in feelings, in that quiet pull you cannot ignore, in the way your energy shifts when you think about this person, in the way something inside you feels calm even when your mind feels chaotic, because your soul recognizes what your mind cannot yet accept. It recognizes alignment, it recognizes familiarity beyond logic. It recognizes a connection that goes deeper than surface-level attraction or temporary emotion, but your soul does not force, it does not shout, it does not create fear, it simply invites. It invites you to trust, to open, to step beyond the limits your mind has created, and that invitation can feel uncomfortable because it requires you to let go of the illusion of control. It requires you to accept that not everything can be planned, predicted, or protected against. There is also something else happening beneath the surface that you may not have fully realized yet, and that is the fear of change, because if this connection is real, if it is as deep and meaningful as it feels, then it will change you. It will change the way you see love, the way you see yourself, the way you approach relationships, and change, even when it is positive, can feel threatening to your mind, because your mind prefers what is known, even if what is known is not truly fulfilling. You might find yourself holding back, not saying what you truly feel, not fully expressing your emotions, keeping parts of yourself hidden just in case things don't work out, and this is another way your mind tries to protect you, by making sure you are never fully invested, never fully vulnerable, never fully open to the possibility of being hurt, but in doing so, it also limits the possibility of being deeply loved. Because love, real love, does not exist in half measures, it does not thrive. In hesitation and constant doubt, it grows in presence, in honesty, in the willingness to be seen as you truly are, without constantly trying to manage the outcome, without constantly trying to protect yourself from every possible scenario. And this does not mean you should lose yourself in someone else. It does not mean you should ignore your boundaries or your self-worth. It means you should allow yourself to be present in the connection without letting fear dictate every move you make. It means learning the difference between protecting your peace and avoiding your growth. Your mind will continue to test this connection. It will continue to look for reasons to doubt, to question, to create distance, because that is what it has been trained to do, but you are no longer in a place where you have to blindly follow those patterns. You now have awareness, and awareness gives you the power to choose differently. You can choose to pause instead of react, to reflect instead of assume, to communicate instead of withdraw, and these choices may feel unfamiliar at first, they may even feel uncomfortable, but they are the very choices that create a different outcome, a different experience, a different kind of connection than what you have known before. There is a reason why this is not easy, a reason why it feels like an internal battle, and that reason is because you are standing at the edge of transformation. You are being asked to step out of who you have been and into who you are becoming, and that transition is never smooth. It is never without resistance. It is never without moments of doubt. But within that resistance is also your opportunity to break free from the patterns that have limited you, your opportunity to experience something deeper, something more aligned, something that reflects the growth you have gone through. You have spent so much time protecting your heart that you may have forgotten what it feels like to truly open it, and now that moment is here again, not to hurt you, but to show you that you are capable of loving without losing yourself, of trusting without abandoning your boundaries, of connecting without sacrificing your identity. So when your mind tells you to run, to close off, to protect yourself at all costs, take a moment to listen, not just to your thoughts, but to your deeper knowing, because beneath all the noise, beneath all the fear, there is a quiet truth that does not come from your past, it comes from your present, and that truth will guide you if you allow it to. You are not being asked to ignore your fear, you are being asked to understand it, to see where it comes from, to recognize when it is protecting you and when it is limiting you, and in that understanding, you begin to find balance, a balance between being open and being aware, between trusting and staying grounded, between feeling deeply and still honoring yourself. This connection is not here to take anything away from you, it is here to reveal what has been within you all along, your capacity to love, your ability to grow, your strength to face what you once avoided, and your willingness to step into something greater than your fears. And maybe that is why it feels so intense, because it is not just about another person, it is about you, it is about who you are becoming, it is about the version of you that no longer runs at the first sign of vulnerability, the version of you that can stay, that can feel, that can experience something real without immediately trying to escape it. So do not mistake intensity for danger, do not confuse fear with truth, and do not let your mind convince you to walk away from something that is meant to help you evolve, because sometimes, the very thing that scares you the most is the very thing that has the power to change your life in the most meaningful way.